All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this second foray into our adventure in creating a global leaderboard. So last time, just to catch everybody up, last time we did not actually make a global leaderboard. Basically today, we've set up this project where we're creating a speed run timer. And we created the speed run timer, and I'm going to go over the details of everything that was in it in a second. But essentially, we are going to take the timer that we've got that we right now last time worked on getting to display, and we're going to save a player's best time using persistent player storage. And then we are going to get the world record best time, and we're going to use the global leaderboard to do it. So that is on the agenda today. So we're going to kind of just go over what we've got so far. So looking at the project, I have this really wide UI display that we made gigantic for stream last time. And we'll just full screen it for this preview. But as a character, I can run past the start. It starts timing me. And then when I get to the finish line, I freeze, and that is my best time. If I were in the same instance to get a better time, so let's say I've got a speed advantage and I gallop through this test, then my new best time will be the best time. But however, if I start this preview again and I run through, even if I'm not on horseback, I don't have a best time yet, or at least I don't have a persistent best time. So we're going to do that. And in terms of the project and the code, what we did is essentially we have two scripts. So we have the script called timer client. And then what it does is it lets us change all of the text on the times. And we used it to basically, on the client side, we've got a tick function that keeps updating the time using this time function that's part of core. So if I go into my core documentation, if I look up Control F time, you can see that time is this function that just gives you the number of seconds since the server has started. So we're using the timer. We count it up on client side, but when we save the time on the server side, we actually just stick that time up there. So it's not actually a perfect match, but from a user perspective, you can't tell a difference. And that means that the users are able to interface with the most correct version of the time for the purposes of competition, which is obviously the point of a speed run timer. So what we're going to do is let's just look at this in terms of the code. So the client, basically what it does is it waits for these events. We've got one called update current time, and we've got show best time, and then start timer and stop timer. So all four of those events do not happen on the client side. They happen on our server script, which I'm going to look at in a second, which basically gives instructions on how to update this UI that we have right here that is not super pretty, but is designed to be giant for the purposes of visualability on stream. So yours will probably be smaller because you only need it to be seen by players and not by people who are watching you develop it, like we are right now. Okay, so let's look at the server side start stop. So we've got client was pretty simple, and it really just updates things based on information. Plus it does this little magical trick where it has the time count up so that you can see it increasing. So now we're going to look at what is happening on the start stop. So basically we have two trigger events. One of them is connected to the start line. We can go ahead and toggle trigger visibility with V so that you can see the way we're doing this. But essentially we start the time. If I zoom out here, we start the time when you leave this trigger, right? Implying that that's when you really cross this line right here. And we stop the time when you enter this trigger. So this is on trigger end overlap, and this is on begin overlap. So we've got two trigger scripts. We've got one that's called on end overlap, and I actually took this out of the script generator, but the thing is that we have two triggers, and that one is intended for one. So my finish line, I'm waiting for the on begin overlap as soon as you get there. And start line, I'm waiting for the on end overlap, which is as soon as you leave, right? And then we did this thing where we created a table for all of the players. We've got this weird thing where we now need to you can just add things into a table if they don't exist yet, but you can't add like things of things. So if I were, I don't know what my MS Paint looks like, right? But let's say I've got player table. And what I want to do is add like a player table. Last person is Stay Punny. Square bracket. And I want to add Stay Punny's best time, right? I can just do player table Stay Punny best time, and I want to add that. I can't just add this in, right? Because I'm trying to add a table inside of a table, but the first table doesn't exist. So what needs to happen in the middle is that we need to have the player table Stay Punny exist. That needs to exist first before I can add this. So in each case, if this one exists, then I can have this. And if this one exists, then I can have this. But yeah, so each of these tables, I can't just create this one, but I can just create this one if this exists. If I have something called player table, I can make any property of it and equals, eventually add some things to it. So we need this intermediate step. So basically that means if me, player.name, or whoever it is that crosses that doesn't exist yet, I need to put them on the table as an empty table, because I'm going to have tables within tables. And so before I can do this down here where I say player table, player name, and give them this start name property, I need to have this check. And we also talked about how if something doesn't exist, it's nil. And if I do, if not, that nil will evaluate to false. So basically, if I do, if not, this thing exists, right, then I can do that. I can actually just write that in. And so that's really nice. Instead of saying, if not, I could also say like, if player, table, player name, we could change this to equals nil, right? And that's the same thing we're doing. I just like the if it doesn't exist using the if not to do it. So that's what's going on here. So then we have to make it, and then we can add these properties, start time and end time. Okay. And then we broadcast 3 events from this time. So we're printing the player's runtime. And what we want to do is now we're going to create player storage. So we're going to have a best time all the time. And we're also going to then add another function which sets these up from the get-go. So what we need to do right now is we need to enable player storage. So if you haven't done storage before, the first thing you're going to do is in the game settings. It has only 4 properties, right? We've got the chat mode, play mode profiler, which is just a performance thing. So you wouldn't want that in your game. And that just came back, right? That's cool. Or not. And then ragdoll on death, yes or no. And we're going to check this to enable player storage. And that is the first step. We might try to skip that. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is use storage. So I'm going to go to my very brightly light-themed documentation. We're going to look up storage to see how that works. So it's right here, and we basically see we have 2 things. We can get player data and we can set player data. And if you saw, what was it? We did a player storage stream 2 streams ago. So if you look at the one where we did persistent resources, so we took our resource, we used the collectible resource and stuff like that, and then we said, okay, how do we save that so that you have the same number of rupees each time you connect to the game? We set that up, and we found out that there's basically this kind of like 3-step dance that we do anytime you want to send something to player storage. So I'm actually going to, this is something I do sometimes on the API. Now that we've got Visual Studio Code autocomplete, this is less necessary, but we'll set it up anyway, where we can do this on begin overlap. Let's do this, actually we want to do this on player join. So we're going to make a new function called on player join. Right, and that's basically, we're going to call this with the player joined event, and we're going to basically look up the player's best time in there. So we're going to say, and I'm going to basically add a comment. This is why I copied and pasted this. This is what this looks like on the API. So we're going to get this out of the thing on player join. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, local Oh, okay, and on player join is going to get the player that joined, right? That's what it does. I could look this up, but I'm pretty sure. And it's also in the script generator. So if I go here and I say open script generator and I look at player join leave, right? I'll say like, okay, on player joined is what they call the function, but it doesn't matter as long as I'm consistent, and I'm going to connect it to the player joined event. And it has one input there, and that's player. So that's awesome. We're in a great place. So we'll go back here and we'll say on player join player, and then we'll say local player storage equals storage dot, and storage is a namespace, so I use dot instead of colon because I'm not referencing get player data, and then player is player, right? And it's like this is the type, and then this is a variable name for the thing. And I know my player that is of type player is going to be player. So we set that up, and we can go ahead, we'll just print it so we make sure everything's working to begin with, and we'll connect it to the point. So we'll say events dot player lowercase player joined event connect on player join. Hopefully I did this right. We're going to find out. That's why we print. That's the beauty of printing things constantly. So we updated that. We'll press play and attempt to index a new nil value player join event. All right, let's look at the script generator again. Okay, so I got that wrong. Let's open the script generator, change it to player join leave, and I'm just game.player join event, right? It's not events. Events is when you create it. Okay. Easy fix. So we'll go there and we will say, instead of this, we're going to say game, because that's something that the game controls, right? It's keeping track of who's there and starting itself and stuff like that. Okay, cool. So we'll press play, and we get the error that I was trying to manufacture, which it says, and you're just gonna have to believe me, it says timer start stop line 52, player storage is disabled. Please use the game settings objects to enable this service. And a lot of times if you download something on community content that depends on player storage, you're going to get this error because you need to set it up. And when we get to leaderboards, it's going to be even more complicated because you have to create your own leaderboard. So if you try to make a community content piece for somebody else's leaderboard, you're going to have to change that part out yourself. So this is the beginning of it. So we'll click enable player storage, and then when we press play, we'll be happy and we get a table. Okay. Awesome. So now what we need to do is we need to have a best time. So we'll open this up, and what we want is we want to see like, okay, do we have player storage best time, right? So we set that up, and instead of looking for the whole table, we're going to check out for the best time, and it says nil. Okay, so it's nil. So what we need to do is we need to create this category if we don't have it, right? Exact same way that we've done this entire time. We're going to say if we have a best time, right? If player storage square bracket best time, then we will set our player data to the best time. Yeah, let's just do that. So we'll say we've got this thing here called player table, and we're going to add it to our sort of local version of it. So we'll say player table. A player.name is how we organize this table actually, and square bracket best time equals this, whatever value you're saving in here. And if not, we just won't worry about it right now. And basically when the player disconnects is when we'll update their best time on storage, is the whole idea. Okay, so basically we have two places where we set the best time to the new time. And I'm just going to do it in this for both of these. So we'll add player storage to the top of this. And then we'll say this thing. Player storage best time equals the time that we just set it to. And we could also look up in the player table, but we've got it right here, so this is fine. And I'm just in the interest of getting this to work, we're going to change it here. And then when I want to update it in the storage, what I have to do is use set storage. So I'm going to do this down here, and we're going to say storage.set player data. And then we'll have player here as well, which is the same reference in the function, so I can just call them player. And we're also going to add the storage that we're setting now. So basically, every time you change player storage, you have to change the whole thing. We're going to copy the entire table that is all of the data about the player. Any change I want to make, I change to that table, and then I send that whole table back to player storage. And if I try to just set it to the new thing, it'll erase everything else. So I need to make a copy of the table, change one of the keys of the table, which in this case is best time, and set it up. Okay, so this is what we want to do right now. And we've got two parts. As soon as I join, it should look for my best time if it exists and save it. And when I get a new best time, it should say that as my best time. So what we'll do here is we press play and we run through. And my best time will be 5:38. And that should have stored, but we don't know for sure until we start again. And then attempt to index a nil value field question mark on 59. Let's look at it. 59. All right, let's update the storage, not in the best time, but in the player leave. On player leave. And again, you can look this up in the script generator if you need it. But we're going to say player storage equals this, just like we did, right? Like that. And then we will player storage best time, instead of making it new time, which I'm going to take this out. And in this case, we're going to actually look up the stored version of it. So we've got this weird thing where we've got a player table and player storage. And player's table is like our in the game version of it that erases each time. So this will help look up the best time and set it as the best time. And then we're going to do the set player data player storage like this. Okay. So we're going to do this. And then, because I don't want to rewrite the whole, like, and if I don't have player data a best time yet, add it in. I don't want to add that. So instead, we're going to delete all the references to player storage in update best time. And we're going to call this function. So what I'll do is, instead of saying, just trying to set it here, if I have a storage, we're going to say update best time to the time that's in the storage. So I can say update best time. That's a function that is literally designed to handle setting my best time based on a new time. Player storage best time. This is going to be the time that's in player storage, and I just need the player. Okay. Essentially what we've got is we're going to say, okay, as soon as a player joins, check their player storage. If their player storage has something called best time in it, then I want you to use that function I have that I use whenever you cross the finish line to update your best time. I want you to use that to update the player's best time as soon as they connect, right? And we've got that connect. And then whenever they leave, I would like you to update the storage time to whatever their best time was today. So we'll say player left event connect on player leave, like that. Okay. So now let's test it out. We did not stop the preview, but let's set it up. So attempt to index a nil value still on 40. All right, let's look at it. 40. All right, we're going to add the if the player doesn't exist on the table code there. Because we're doing the same thing. We're trying to do that thing that I warned you about in the beginning, which is we're trying to reference this best time before the player.name table, empty table exists. So there we go. This should fix it. All right. Timer start stop 51. Expected table received nil. All right, let's look at that. So this is where we do set storage, and it's called player storage. And I forgot to, we don't actually want this here anymore. That's why, because now we do that on player join leave, and we don't do it in the beginning. Okay, sorry guys. Here we go. We're gonna go. We've actually already got a best time saved, which it saved for us, I think last time. So 5:38 should have been our best time this time, and that's a little bit of a weird problem, but we can fix that eventually. But yeah, 5:38 is our best time now, right? If I stop and I press play, it's still 5:38. That's the record since I started actually storing this. I can get on my horse, gallop through here. And now the best time is 3:57, and the next time I start, it's just going to be 3:57. So that's what we got set up. We've got a best time that is pretty permanent now. So this is now saved into player storage. And what we want now is to create the leaderboard so we can get that world record time. So let's go ahead, and while I'm setting this up, let's go into this one. And what I want to do is when I do the update current time, which is update current time, right? I'm going to go ahead, and I want to, when the player joins, also set that to 0 so that we don't have that weird it's update thing. So instead of doing player to runtime, I'm going to just say literally the number 0. Okay. So now when I start, I should get current time is 0.0, best time is 3.57. So the only thing we're missing is that world record time. So we need to create a leaderboard. And I think I have not done that in this project yet. So we're going to go to view, and there is just this thing called Global Leaderboards. And you'll notice I have 0 leaderboards. So we're going to create a new leaderboard. Okay. And this leaderboard name is going to be called speed run time, we're going to call it. And as we know, run times lower is better. So I'm going to swap that. 10 is the fewest entries I want. And technically the way I'm using this, I'm only using the top entry. So we can have a top 10 just out of the box, right? But I don't want to go through I just want my world record, and I want to be able to keep a world record and always show people the world record. And that's what we're doing here. So I don't actually need to track daily, weekly, or monthly data because the world record is for all time, right? That's the whole idea. So we're going to set this up, and we're going to create that. And it creates this little thing. And if I hit the edit button, it'll just take me back to that string. And this, what does this do? Deletes or duplicates. Now I don't want to do that. But what I want to do is I want to be able to talk about it in the script. So I'm going to open the script, and I'm going to literally, this is the important thing to get out of this, everybody. If I want to be able to reference it as a custom property, ID instance, this one, we're going to add the speed run time to this one. And we're going to add the speed run time to this one and copy this property. And then when I double click this script to open it, I will get this one that is in leaderboard, not speedrun. We'll close the speedrun one, and we'll paste this at the top. Boom. Okay. So now what we're going to do is on this on player join, we're going to print the leaderboard. We're just going to, or not quite. We want to get it, but we need to actually get the leaderboard from this reference. So let's go ahead and open up board documentation. So we're going to look up global leaderboard. Not leaderboard entry. That's for in a second. Leaderboards. Okay. So we need to get leaderboard by this net reference leaderboard ref. And that's just that variable that I have now. The thing that I dragged in, that's dragging that net reference. And the leaderboard type is going to be global because that's the only one we care about. So let's just go ahead. We're going to copy that, and it gives us an array, which is what we are calling tables because, yeah. I don't know if do we always say array instead of table? Anyway, yeah, we always say array. So, but that's basically going to be a table for us. So we will open this up, and I'm just going to literally in the on player join. We'll get this leaderboards, get leaderboard, and then the net reference is going to be prop speed run time. And then the leaderboard type, look up this up again, is right. Leaderboards is going to be leaderboard type dot global. So I'll just copy that, put this in here. And it's going to be like, bam, global. Okay. And then let's just go ahead and we'll give it a local leader equals local leader. Contact your local leaders. All right. And we'll print leader. Okay. So let's just see how that goes. That should happen as soon as I join. So, and it should, where are you at? Core, be good core. We can close our global leaderboards now because I don't think we need to reference anything. And we'll press play and we'll press pause so that we can open the event log. So we see we got a table. Exciting. All right, let's see how many things are in the table. So we can do here, we did this. Let's print hashtag leader, which should tell us how many things are in it. So we'll do that. And we'll press play, and we get 0. 0 is the number of things in it, as expected, really, when you think about it. First of all, what we're going to do is whenever you get a best time, before you leave, I would like to make a leaderboard entry and enter your point in there. Because the nice thing is that it figures out if it's actually the best. All I have to do is just put an entry in there. So we're actually going to do this when we update the best time. Is we can do it. You can do it even if it's not the best time. But we're going to make a leaderboard entry. So to do this, let's pull back up this. We're going to get leaderboards.submit player score. And I'm just going to copy this again because that works. And we're going to put that there. Okay, so we've got leaderboards.submit player score. And first of all, we need the leaderboard ref. And we know that that is prop speed run time. It's the custom property that we made. Player is just going to be player because this function knows what player it is. Number score is going to be new time. And we don't have any additional data. So we're just going to add that in. Okay. So one of the things that is the thing about this is that this is a leaderboard for players. So it's not like I can have one person has like all of the top 10 scores. You only get one score on one leaderboard per player. I'd have to have multiple leaderboards if I wanted to try to manage that. And that's not, I just want one world record. So it doesn't matter. So similar to how we've had to check if lots of things exist yet, here we're going to say if leaderboard has leaderboards, then go ahead and submit a player score to it. Okay. So we'll do this on player join as well. Which is basically if I already have a best time, then let's go ahead and submit that best time to begin with. Just in case anybody got a best time before I created this leaderboard, I needed to also just like grab that from player storage and check that as well. And there's not actually, I think, too much of a cost of sending stuff to the leaderboards because they don't update on the server right away. So it's not like we're sending like a ton of server traffic. But essentially, we should be able to submit the player score. So when we connect, if the player has a best time, which I as a player do, then we update it and we know that that's working. And then if we have a leaderboard, we submit the score. And then print leaderboard exists. So let's see if maybe it's just skipping this because it hasn't loaded the leaderboard yet. So it's not updating it on player join. Yeah, I'm not getting the leaderboard exists. So let's try what happens with 2 players. I have to load after another. And what I want to see is actually what's here. So we get 1. We have 1 entry. So it's happening too early when I'm joining and starting the server at the same time. So we need to think of a way to get that going. It's not really that much of a problem once we have some entries. And it doesn't like 78 for both of the players. Let's see what 78 did. 78 says player storage best time. Okay, so we definitely need to check if player storage best time, because if they never got a time, then it's a problem. So we're going to say then you can update it, and otherwise you probably actually don't need to update storage either, so we can put both of these in that if statement. Okay. And okay, so that'll solve that problem, which is that both of those bots didn't have a best time. Okay. So in general, on-player join is not exactly the right time to do this because the leaderboard hadn't loaded yet. So we could... I think we still need to have it. We just need to also probably create a separate method for this. Right now it's working well enough that I just want to jump to my next point, which is make a function that updates world record. So function show world or get world record. And I don't think we need anything. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say, get the leaderboard. We know how to do that. That's this. Can actually maybe even take this out of here. And what I want is to just get the first thing. So I'm going to say local world record equals leader square bracket 1, the first thing, right? And then I'm going to return world record. Okay. And then we're going to events. Oh no, we're going to broadcast it. That's what we're going to do. Okay. So we're going to broadcast this to show it on the UI side. So we're going to say events.broadcast to all players. Show world record. Sorry guys, I got a little bit lost on myself, but I think we're good now. And world record, right? Okay, so now I'm going to... No, we're going to broadcast to player, right? Because we're going to still call this when you player join. So broadcast to player, show world record. Okay. And so this needs to get a player. So when you join, we're going to get the world record too. So we'll say get world record, and we'll give them the player to do it so that they know who to broadcast that to, and then this is going to show up in the UI. Okay, now we get to go back to timer client. We get to do the same thing that we have done all this time, which is we're going to say function show, and let's see, we'll do this up here with like current time, stuff like that. Update current time. And show best time, and now we're going to say show world record. So we'll say function set world record. Let's say display world record. And we're going to say and local, and we're going to do basically the same thing with the world record. We can even actually copy this. Let's copy this, and we'll change what we need to change. Okay, formatted time looks good, except instead of time, it's called record. And then instead of the prop best time, we want to change prop world record. And instead of best time, this is going to say world record. And then this is called formatted time, and this is called formatted time, so that's fine. So we've got this, and we just need to connect it to events. So events.connect. And what did we call it? We called it show world record. And we spelled everything correctly. We did. Look at that. Show world record. And the function is called display world record. Yeah. Okay, cool. So should be good. Make sure the world record actually sends it. So when we do it, we do world record, and that should be it. Okay, let's see it. Press play. Oh, nope. Oh, we're doing multiplayer preview. I forgot that the world record isn't just the number. It's got a bunch of different things. So we need to get, all right, everything's broken. And we can look at it, and it's like leaderboard entry type 1 argument number 1 is not supported. Type in argument number 1 is not supported. Yeah. So what we need to do is we need to look at the leaderboard entry. So each one of the things in the leaderboard is a leaderboard entry. And when we asked for the first one, we asked for like the top leaderboard entry. And we can see they've got an ID, a name, and a score. So what I actually want to send is not the leaderboard entry, but here, it doesn't want me to send the whole leaderboard entry. It wants me to send a score. So we'll go through here, and instead of world record equals leader1.score. We'll do that. We don't even need the name or the ID. We're just going to do the score. Let's do this in local preview for right now. All right, so stop. Local, so we can get this working first. Timer client, attempt to index a nil value field, question mark, timer, stop 88. All right, timer stop 88. Local world record equals leader1.score. It just still hasn't gotten a score locally, has it? Okay. All of this is going to be if leaderboard has leaderboards, I guess. Still attempted index no value. I think it just didn't save that time. All right, we're gonna get this, guys. We got big plans. I just didn't delete those. Okay, well, got you now. And get world record is still happening. When do I call that? I still call that on player join. So let's change that also to happen in update best time, so that I can trigger it if it doesn't happen. All right, so let's try this. We run through, and whenever we finish, we should call update best time, and we get the time, and we've got a world record, and it's still not updating for the best time I've ever gotten, but it should work after this. So we've got it to display because it called world record. We can see it there. Let me just F11 so we're getting the impact of this. And we'll go out through, we'll get a better time. It won't even be our best time. So something's still not working with the when we get a better time or when we get best time out of player storage. And then let's go ahead and one more time, just so you can feel the success of this thing that we've done. Let's go into player settings. And we're going to change our mounting, max speed, and acceleration. So max acceleration, we'll make that 2,000, and max speed will 2,000, and we'll make max speed 1,000. So we get there faster, and we go faster when we get to our top speed. All right, so we'll press play, G for the mount, and let's do this. Get a better time. We got this. Believe in me, we're going to break the record. We're going to break the record. We did it. So now our world record is 3.42. And when I press play, the world record is still empty. All right, guys. Look for the tutorial coming for this very, very soon. I will put the link to it on Core Academy when it gets published. And yeah, that's where we're stopping today. Sorry, friends, for not getting that perfectly working, but I highly invite you to try this on your own projects. Ask any questions in Core Academy about it. Yeah, and we're all going to get this working. So it's not just me, but it's everybody in here is going to add a speedrun timer or whatever record is useful to them. And next time we'll see what we have in store. Still deciding about some content for future Core Academy. They got a lot of potential directions to go, and I'm very excited about all of them. So, and again, thank you guys for joining me. And I'm gonna have I don't have a fade away.